Hello everybody and welcome back to Ruler 101 on Game Squared. Today we're playing with tentacles and totally normal lemonade. Yes, normal. With our ruler for the week, Fiend of Dark Pyre. There she is. Look at how beautiful she is. That art is amazing. I want a full art of that. I want a promo of that. I want that. For those who do not know the lore, she looks familiar, and if she looks familiar, that's because that is Little Dread, aka Little Red the Wolf Girl, aka Nyarlathotep. Later on in the story, of course. But this art is one of my favorites in the game. Like, it's one of the few times I'm willing to accept more, like, gritty style as opposed to the normal, like, light-hearted anime style, because she just looks beautiful. She only has one ability on her front side, and that's Surge Activate. 0, play this ability only if you put a Cthulhu into a field this turn. That's right, people. We're heading to HP Lovecraft. We're going to get all down and dirty with all the Cthulhus. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be awesome. But first, we need to look at her J-Ruler side. As I discovered last week, I can flip it. Isn't that beautiful? Aren't I such a master of the editing world? Nyarlathotep, the Faceless God. She is a darkness ruler. She doesn't have any colors on her. It's just in the lower corner, so I really don't think of her as a darkness ruler, but she is darkness. Attack? What? 0? That's madness! And defense, 1200. Enter. Your opponent banishes a non-Cthulhu resonator. I get why they put non-Cthulhu on there, but I feel like it could have just said banishes a resonator, and it would have still been okay. Like, to make it useless in the mirror match is kinda stupid. And, like, flavor-wise, your opponent banishing a resonator, sure, it's fine. Just because it's a Cthulhu. But it also has the best ability ever, Continuous. This card's attack is equal to the total attack of Cthulhu resonators you control. So, for every Cthulhu you have out, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's already pretty beefy on the defense side, so it's not going to die easy. The Cthulhu that exist, before a while ago, when it first came out, all of them had relatively low attack. However, nowadays, we got some real bruiser Cthulhus. Also, some support cards that existed at the time that see far better use now. But let's jump right into the Cthulhu support with the Resonators. Starting with Black Goat. It's 1 red for a 200/200, and it has an activate ability. Pay red, remove this card in your graveyard from the game. This card deals 200 damage to target player or Resonator. Okay, so this is going to be relevant to a card later on, but just as a Resonator itself, it's pretty good. Mostly just because it does something even after it dies. You don't really want to play this from your hand. I mean, it's okay if you do, but it's basically just a blocker or Nyarlathotep bait. It's okay. It's okay. The 200 damage becomes more relevant later on when you're, like, getting that last bit of damage on, like, a Resonator that really needs it, or you're dealing damage to your opponent, or just saving it for a rainy day, you know? Because it's only 1 red, it's 200 damage. Sure, why not? Next up, we have Emissary of Ryland. I don't know. Anyway, also 1 red, attack 500, defense 400. Swiftness, this card cannot attack your opponent. So for 1 red, it's a creature attacker. It doesn't have precision, which is kind of sad. However, it's a 500 attack Cthulhu for 1. And you kind of want to spam these out in order to get Nyarlathotep up to the highest power that you could ever imagine. It's also really good against decks that use, like Sacred Elves or stuff like that. But it's honestly just in here because it's a high attack, cheap cost Cthulhu. The next Cthulhu actually does something. Creature from Chaos. It's a 200/200. When this card deals damage to a J Resonator, destroy that J Resonator for 1 darkness. It's another 1-drop Cthulhu, attack 2/2, but its ability is what's really cool, because that's J Resonator. So your opponent's not swinging in to chump block this thing unless they want to lose their creature, which is really nice. It's just really nice to have that. Pretty simple, other than that. You want a lot of one-cost creatures in a Cthulhu deck because you really want to capitalize on their Incarnate ability, which I'll get to when I show off the first real Cthulhu. Anyway, next up we have Monkey Trapped in Life. This is a standard for all Cthulhu decks because it's 1 darkness for 100/100. He's a fairy tale, but whenever this card is put in, when this card is put into a graveyard from your field, return it to its owner's hand, you lose 100 life. Having reoccurring incarnate material is vital. Like, yes, some of the, or you kind of want to incarnate regardless, but having the ability to have some sort of recurring card that you can incarnate again and again is super necessary. Because if you don't have that, then you're gonna really like run out of stuff. You're gonna run out of materials, and you're gonna be like, ah, shit, I can't do anything. It's also really nice to incarnate a card, and then bring Monkey back to your hand, then play Monkey again for 1, and then incarnate another card. So you just essentially played a big cost for 1. Next up, we have the first sort of Cthulhu. I don't call it a real Cthulhu because real Cthulhu have incarnate. Anyways, Deep Ones. 1 blue and 1 for a Resonator Cthulhu. Attack 0, defense 200. Again with the 0 attack. Continuous. This card gains +200/+200 for each Resonator in your graveyard. So, while Monkey Return in Life returns to your hand, your other Resonators don't when they get incarnated. So this thing can get pretty big later on in the game because your graveyard is just slowly filling with Resonators and filling and filling and filling and filling. And then you play it for 2 and you go, oh, look at my giant creature. You gotta deal with that. Also, because he's a Cthulhu that gives buffs and his attack can get huge, he's really helpful for Nyarlathotep. But moving on to the first real Cthulhu, in my opinion. The first truly, really real Cthulhu in existence. Cthulhu, the Living Flame. 1 red and 2 for a 500/500 swiftness. That may seem crappy, however, it has Incarnation 1 red. Incarnation is, it says Incarnation and it lists symbols, or color symbols. You can sacrifice, or you can banish Resonators equal to those symbols, so in this case it's 1 red symbol, so you banish 1 fire Resonator, 1 red Resonator, and you play it for free. This becomes really useful, especially for Cthulhu in his form, just because he only costs 1 to incarnate. So you can be like, Cthulhu, then a Cthulhu on that Cthulhu, and then Cthulhu that Cthulhu. Or you can be like, oh, look at all these black goats I have. Cthulhu, 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 swing in your face. He's just a really nice Resonator. I've talked about him before, but he's just really good as an aggro Resonator because of his essential free cost. Next up, we have the Cthulhu that I personally have played the most. I'll give you a guess what deck it's in. Adam Brawley, the Unfathomable. He is 2 blue and 1 for a 600/800 Cthulhu, and he has Incarnation, white, red, blue, green, or black, or red, no. Okay, so his Incarnation, 5 color, Incarnation, 5 color, and 5 color. So you can banish 2 Resonators in any combination of any attributes for his effect. So he could just, as long as you have 2 Resonators that have color attributes, you can banish him and play him. But why he's really cool is because when he enters the field, if it was played by his Incarnation, for each different attribute among all banished Resonators, do the following. So if you banished a white Resonator, you gain 400 life. If you banished a red Resonator, it deals 400 damage to up to 1 target Resonator. If you banished a blue Resonator, you draw a card. If you banished a green Resonator, you produce one of any color. And if you if you banished a darkness Resonator, your opponent loses 400 life. This card was pivotal when I was playing what was the deck? When I was playing Turbo, because he's part of the Turbo package. He allowed you to really ramp out your Gwybers because he's a creature and he can be a creature when your opponent's on your creatures, and he produces the will, so you can produce your white and drop a Gwyber. And also, he existed to banish a darkness resonator every so often to drain the last bit of life off of an Yggdrasil deck, because screw that deck and all it's worth. I hate it. Blah. We're talking about Yggdrasil 1.0, the Never Die tree. But next up, we have the decks. We have the ruler for the deck and another super Cthulhu. Yogsothoth, the usurper. Okay, so Faceless God becomes a super. 2 darkness and 2 for an 800/800. Not really worth it, but it has incarnation, darkness, and either darkness or red. So you can banish 1 darkness resonator and either a red or darkness. Enter. You may look at target player's hand and choose a card. He or she discards that card. Okay, so this is an amazing card. It's a super staple as for Cthulhu's, just because getting to manipulate your opponent's hand is really useful, especially since cancel target automatic ability is a thing in stupid Lorite and Jesus Call and all that nonsense. But she's usually, and because of the 8/8 body, she's a decent body, and you're usually playing her turn 2, so you can. She's worth it, and her ability is strong, and it's really nice. But then we're moving on to the next resonator, another not true Cthulhu because it doesn't have incarnate. Elder Things, 2 darkness and 2 for a 0/200. Continuous. This card gains +200/+200 for each resonator in all graveyards. So where Deep Ones was in your graveyard, he's in all graveyards. This card can get nuts. Like, late game, this is easily a 16/16. Like, it's amazing. Especially if your opponent is running a resonator-heavy deck or any kind of, like, little ramp rush. Graveyards tend to get really filled really fast. So this thing can get huge. Next up, we have one of the cooler Cthulhus. I'm going to try to pronounce this right. Shubniggurath, the goddess of fertility. 2 red and 2 for a 600/600. Incarnation red, and then either a red or a black. Enter. Search your main deck for a card named Black Goat and put it into your field. Then shuffle your main deck. So those little black goats that you saw earlier, you can grab those from your deck, put one in the field. That's why we run them. They work together. Because if you incarnate this card, you're trading 2 resonators for 2 resonators. So then you can incarnate something on top of it. But it also has Activate Rest, banish 2 other Cthulhu resonators, put target Cthulhu non-spell card from your graveyard into your field. So you can recur your stronger Cthulhus. And because Enter works differently now, all those Cthulhu's Enter abilities will trigger from the grave. It used to be you're just getting a big body, or something like, or just getting a stronger Cthulhu. Whew, excuse me. I need another sip of totally normal lemonade. Anyway, getting the 2. Her activate ability is amazing. It's not used as often as I would like whenever I see her used. Just because she pulls a black goat. So if you have one other resonator, on your opponent's turn you go, I'll take my yog-sothoth from my hand. Thank you very much. She's just really cool. I like her. Also, it doesn't say... Oh, wait. Yeah, it does. It says 2 other Cthulhu resonators. Especially if you, like, banish 2, grab a Shubniggurath, and then you use that Shubniggurath to banish 2 other ones, and then you use the Shubniggurath you already have to banish your previous Shubniggurath and 1 other resonator, and you can just pile on the resonators. It's amazing. Next up, we have Hasta, the Unspeakable. 1 darkness, 1 red, and 2 for a 700/500 incarnation red black or red or black. Okay. Enter. Destroy target resonator with no addition. The no addition is really weird. Like, it feels like a really weird thing to tack on. However, additions on resonators are super rare now. Like, no one ever uses them really. So you're usually going to be able to just be like, bam, bam. Especially since Necrolance is dead, like dead and gone. Now he can. You're not going to be like, oh man, that Lancelot has a necromancy on it. Crap. I really would like to see a Cthulhu with Incarnation and Quick Cast. I think that would be really cool, just to kill one of your Resonators that's dying anyway, to throw down a Cthulhu. I think that'd be neat. But next up, we have one of the more recent Cthulhus, Azathoth. Azathoth? I think it's Azathoth. Azathoth, Hunter of Reality. Anyway, 2 darkness and 6 for a 2000/2000, limit 6. Enters your field with the number of limit counters. Whenever it attacks or blocks, remove a limit counter. If this card would be destroyed, you may remove a limit counter from it instead. If you do, remove all damage from it. So it can't be killed as long as it has limit counters on it. Whenever this card attacks or blocks, destroy target J Resonator. At end of turn, if there are no limit counters on this card, destroy it. If you do, this card deals 2,000 damage to you. Okay, so it's really strong. He is super, super strong. Because he hits the field, he's got the 6 counters. Oh, excuse me. He's got the 6 counters. Then, if your opponent swings, he blocks, blows up something. And he's a 2000/2000, so probably whatever he's blocking, or whatever he's blocking is going to die as well. Or you let it go to your turn, and you swing with him, and he's a 2000 coming out their face. You blow up whatever big thing they have, or even if they have a single blocker, you blow it up. And then they're like, oh my god, no. And admittedly, the end of turn effect is really scary. Like, if he ever runs out of limit counters, it's going to be super terrifying for you. However, you manipulate it so that so that the limit counters on it go away on your turn, and then you incarnate him into something. And then you bring him back with Shubniggurath or one of the cards I'm going to show later. As far as bruisers go, he's the big one of the deck. But there is one other card that I would definitely consider like the power Cthulhu. He was the strongest Cthulhu back in the day, and arguably still the strongest Cthulhu. Just because of his stat line and his abilities. Yog-Sothoth, the Dark Myth. He later would become a ruler. But in this version, he was a lot better. Anyway, attack 1500, defense 1500. Incarnation, black, red or black, red or black. So 3 resonators he takes. This is really hard to get off unless you use a certain combo, which is not in this video because it doesn't really work with a Nyarlathotep deck. If you know what I'm talking about, cool. If you don't, we'll save that for another day. Anyway, he has Pierce and Enter. Destroy all resonators with total cost 2 or less. So feel free to just banish all your 1-drops to him. They don't care. Awesome. 2-drops, your deep ones. Why not? No, not deep. You can't banish them to him. But a 15/15 Pierce. Not only is he near impossible to kill outside of direct destruction, but when he swings at your face, you're gonna be like, oh, I can't chump block that. Oh crap! It's just an amazing, super strong card. The reason I don't really consider it a super powerhouse is because a stoning to death will just eliminate it. Or just any kind of kill. Like, it's got nothing to defend itself. Its Enter is super strong, especially if your opponent has a bunch of tokens or 2 weenies. But other than that, it's like, he's really stoppable is what I'm saying. And because you sacrifice 3 creatures into him, you're not really, like, you're not gaining a whole lot if you play him and then he gets popped, you know? That does it for the resonators. Let's move into the spells. Starting with the what to call it? The namesake card. Call of Cthulhu. H.P. Lovecraft. I'm surprised Lovecraft wasn't a Vingolf ruler, or not a ruler, but a Vingolf card or something. I'm really kind of sad about that. Anyway, 1 darkness and 1 chance standby. So chance standby is you pay 2 and you put them in your chance standby area. Then when their trigger is met, you play them for free. Or if they're in your hand, and the trigger effect is met, you can pay the will and play them to like a chant instant, basically. Okay, so trigger. While you have 5 or more Cthulhu cards in your graveyard, put target Cthulhu non-spell card from your graveyard into the field. Massive recursion, especially late game. So your Yog-Sothoth, when you play that, and it's just sitting there, and you go, okay, it dies. Oh, that's sad. Oh well, call it Cthulhu. Woo! Because you're putting a lot of Cthulhu in the graveyard because of your massive incarnation, so this can be played as like turn 2 easily. If you get a good hand, that is. Wait, turn 3. Turn 3, I meant. So if you get a good hand and you're banishing and incarnating, doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that, getting cards in your graveyard, and then you play it and you're like, that's cool. But, yeah, this is really strong. I like it. And as long as the trigger is activated, you can play it as a chant instant. So once you have those 5 Cthulhu cards, this is a 2-wheel recur something. It's an amazing thing to do on the battle step. Like, oh, you thought you weren't dealing with an Yogsothoth? Well, guess who was wrong? Next up, we have more Cthulhu support, and also it indirectly supports. It directly supports Call of Cthulhu. Shining Trapezium. Addition field relic 1 darkness and 1 continuous Cthulhu you control gain +2/+2. I'm going to go into how that is in a moment. But its activate is important. Pay darkness, banish this card, put the top 5 cards of your main deck into your graveyard. This is really useful for Call of Cthulhu, considering the deck you're running is probably going to have mostly Cthulhu in it. So you're just going to fill your graveyard. You do have to banish it, so you don't get the effect, which is kind of sad. However, I really need to explain just how good that Cthulhu 2/2 buff is. Normally you'd be like, 2/2, Cthulhu, whatever. However, remember that your ruler, Nyarlathotep, is getting its attack is equal to the attack of all Cthulhu resonators you control. So if you've got like, if you start off like your handful of weenies, you've got like you got a black goat, you've got an Emissary of Ryland, and you've got a let's say what is it? The creature from chaos. You've got each of those. So, and Nyarlathotep is into the field. Its total attack right now is 900. If you then play Shining Trapezium, its attack goes from 900 to 2, 4, 6, and then itself, because it doesn't say J-Ruler, so 8, 900 plus 8, 1700 attack. That could be... when can that be done? I think that's another turn 3. Because turn 1, you play Black Goat, turn 2, you play Shining Trapezium, and then turn 3, you play your other 2 Cthulhus and flip Nyarlathotep. So, yeah, 1712. I think I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I don't know about you, but I'm okay with it. Super duper strong Cthulhus. Also, it gives your Cthulhus a little buff that they really need. If you have 2 Shining Trapeziums out, your Nyarlathotep is going to be a God Emperor of a card. But besides that, it's going to make your Cthulhus kind of compete with what the power and toughness of newer resonators are, so, you know. Last but not least, we have a card that I usually only run up with 1 of, because you never want more than 1. It's an addition field, it's a moon. Black Moon. The first one, the original, the amazing Black Moon. 2 darkness and 2. Continuous. At the beginning of your main phase, put target Cthulhu non-spell card from your graveyard into your field. It gains swiftness until end of turn. If it would leave your field this turn, remove it from the game instead. At the end of turn, remove it from the game. Okay. Continuous. When this card is put into a graveyard from your field, you lose 1,000 life. So, when it's destroyed, you're going to lose 1,000 life, which is why I only ever run 1. Because even if it's destroyed, you really don't want to replace it because it might get destroyed again. Because if a deck is running 1 addition destruction, they're running more than 1 addition destruction. Just saying. But its ability to put Cthulhu's out give them swiftness, and just recur all your Cthulhus from your grave one after another, makes it a very, very, very good late game card. Because say it's like the end of the game, you're sitting there like, shit, what am I going to play? What am I going to do? All my good stuff is dead. I have this handful of crap. Play Black Moon. Wait a turn. You do have to wait a turn. However, there's not much addition destruction, and people usually don't run it. So, gets to your turn. You go, what am I going to pick out of my graveyard? Oh, a Yogsothoth? Cool. Enter the field, explode everything. Swing at your face for 1,500 Pierce. Next turn you go, oh, why not an Azathoth? Why not a Shubniggurath? Why not a Elder Things? Elder Things would probably be the first one you grab, just because you'd want to grab it while it's going to be the hugest it possibly can be. Then just getting your Recur Resonator with Swiftness every turn is really good. Its cost of 4 is kind of detrimental, so be careful. You don't really want to start you don't really want this in your starting hand. But hey, you do you. It is a moon, so I mean, play around with whatever moons you want, but it's a moon that doesn't really interact with other moon cards, so anyway, that does it for all the individual cards. Let's take a look at the list I designed. Yeah, look how beautiful that is. It's like 90% Cthulhu. There is one card that I did not include in this, and that's Soul Hunt, but that's because Soul Hunt is just kind of a generic card that I threw in there because why not? It was Space Filler. So, I'm not... If you really want to know what it is, there's a database. That's my Cthulhu deck. I know there's other ways you can do Cthulhu decks, but I really love the, I'm going to play every single Cthulhu in the game. Yay! And flip me off the tap. Deal with it. It's so... I really want there to be more Incarnate, because Incarnate is an ability that I really, really love. It's like, you get to play stuff for free, but it's not really free. You have to have the materials for it. Anyway, I'll send you all off with another sip of my totally normal lemonade. Bye-bye!